Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Today's video will be a tale of two Chinese companies, each representing a wider trend. The first is Vanke, within the context of the housing crisis and systemic risk. The second is TikTok, within the context of US-China decoupling and technology competition. Massive Chinese developer Vanke, China's second largest real estate developer by sales value, looks to be the next major domino in the housing crisis threatening systemic financial health. On Monday, Moody's Ratings cut Vanke to junk status. Previously, it had been one of the few remaining Chinese property developers whose credit was rated as investment grade by international credit rating firms. The company faces a liquidity crunch, and it is clear that a state-engineered bailout is in order. In a long-form piece published this week, Chinese financial media outlet Caixin reports, citing unnamed sources, that the Shenzhen-based developer is trying to extend around 5 billion yuan, $695 million of privately issued debt owed to two state-backed insurance sector companies. That had already been extended once. The liabilities were originally due for repayment on the 11th of December and in January respectively, but were extended by 3 months after talks with creditors and help from regulators, they said, adding that the extensions are about to expire and Vanke is again seeking to postpone the repayments. This is already causing market jitters. On Monday, Vanke's shares and bonds tumbled as the news leaked. In a separate piece, the same outlet, Caixin, reported that one creditor, New China Asset Management Co. Limited, NCAM, was refusing to budge on the 10 billion yuan it was owed. NCAM has sold 9 debt investment plans involving Vanke since 2019, with the potential to raise up to 14.6 billion yuan. Officials are scrambling behind the scenes too. US-based Bloomberg writes today that Industrial and Commercial Bank of China Limited and China Construction Bank Corp. have yet to sign off on a syndicated loan for Vanke. Why? The large state banks reportedly have asked Vanke to provide sufficient collateral to back the new loan, but the developer is unwilling to do so. It is unclear why. Without collateral or other forms of credit enhancement, the lenders would need clearing from regulators to proceed, a source told the outlet. Most commentators believe that the government will have to keep Vanke afloat. This is because Shenzhen municipal government owns a large stake in the company, and a collapse would be devastating to already shell-shocked confidence in the market. In addition, municipalities need a few developers to survive, to build projects, and especially to purchase land use rights, without which China will fall off a fiscal cliff this year. But even with this political will, many state-run players do not want to be caught with a nasty hot potato. In an exclusive published today, UK-based Reuters writes that the State Council, China's de facto cabinet, is coordinating support efforts for China Vanke, and financial institutions have been requested to make swift progress. Vanke did fairly well in 2023, next to peers such as Country Garden Holdings Co., with contracted sales falling by only 10% to approximately $52 billion. However, this has changed. Moody's estimates that Vanke's contracted sales declined around 40% in January and February this year, a sharp deterioration versus a year ago. Now, several years into the housing crisis, Vanke, like many others, simply do not have the liquidity. And to make matters worse, the overall market may be turning for the worse this year too. A recent survey by China Index Academy found that less than 20% of respondents plan to buy a house in the next 6 months, versus 30% a year ago, a 50% reduction. Next up, our next company to discuss is TikTok, which is facing a horrible week. But just quickly, if you're enjoying today's video or getting some value from it, I have a huge favor to ask, and that is to like and subscribe. This is only 2 clicks of the mouse, but it is a huge help for me, and it's the best way, along with sharing the video, of course, to help the channel grow. And for those who want to help keep the channel financially sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. The channel relies primarily on subscribers to keep going. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. Let's continue. This Wednesday, the US House of Representatives is scheduled to vote on a bill which, if enacted, would ban TikTok if it were to fail to sever ties with its Beijing-based parent company. It appears that the House will pass the bill. The law also has strong White House support. What is unclear is how the Senate will deal with the bill. Yesterday, Monday, at the Senate Intelligence Committee's annual Worldwide Threats hearing, FBI Director Christopher Wray told senators that TikTok's parent company is, quote, for all intents and purposes, beholden to the Chinese Communist Party, end quote. Washington-based outlet Punchbowl writes that in an exchange with Senator Marco Rubio, the committee's vice chair, Wray said ByteDance has the ability to manipulate TikTok's algorithm in ways that could interfere in U.S. elections by boosting or damaging certain candidates. Quote, that kind of influence operation is extraordinarily difficult to detect, end quote. Ahead of the hearing, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released its annual threat assessment. It specifically mentions TikTok and reveals that, quote, a Chinese propaganda arm used TikTok accounts to target American political candidates from both parties during the 2022 midterm elections, end quote. In a sign of desperation, TikTok's pressure campaign has moved to outright threats. One lawmaker told US-based outlet Semaphore they'd been personally threatened that a yes vote could result in political retaliation. Quote, they said that it would be bad for your future and will get millions of dollars dropped on your head, end quote. Kellyanne Conway, the former senior Trump aide, has been hired by the conservative Club for Growth to advocate for TikTok. US-based Politico reports that she has had at least 10 meetings with lawmakers in recent months about the app. Billionaire investor and Club for Growth donor Jeff Yass holds a 15% stake in TikTok's Beijing-based parent company ByteDance. Last year, China's Commerce Ministry said that a sale or divestiture of TikTok would involve exporting technology and had to be approved by the Chinese government, adding that it would oppose such a sale. If this position remains unchanged, and if the bill is passed, it would result in the massively popular TikTok effectively being banned in the US, and likely other countries would follow suit. Nevertheless, TikTok may be actively looking for potential buyers as a plan B, in the hopes that Beijing will change its mind. US outlet The Wall Street Journal writes today, quote, already, US technology and media titans are circling. In recent days, some executives have discussed buying TikTok if ByteDance agrees to sell, end quote. But who could afford it? Even under pressure to sell, estimations put the company's value at well over $100 billion US. Of course, state media has been publishing angry commentaries for over a week now. Yesterday, state-run Global Times, for example, wrote that the world is seeing, quote, new efforts by the US to plunder TikTok, end quote, adding, quote, any attempt to steal a successful and highly profitable business from a foreign company is hooliganism. TikTok's success and its ties with its Chinese parent don't in any way justify forced divestment, end quote. Of course, the obvious pushback to many of these wider arguments is that China itself has banned many US technology companies over the years on national security grounds, and indeed, in the past, foreign companies have been forced to divest Chinese technology interests. Alibaba, the e-commerce giant founded by Jack Ma, for example, was once 43% owned by Yahoo. Quote, if ByteDance decides to divest TikTok, shareholders would likely be treated more fairly than when Jack Ma and Zhou Cai expropriated Alipay from SoftBank and Yahoo under the pretext that foreign investors could not hold stakes in companies with a PRC payment license, end quote. Of course, this is all part of the wider US technology trade war and decoupling. And with that, we end on one final point from yesterday. On Monday, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo told reporters in Manila, the Philippines, that the US would further tighten controls on China's access to sophisticated semiconductor technologies. Quote, we cannot allow China to have access for their military advancement to our most sophisticated technology. So yes, we will do whatever it takes to protect our people, including expanding our controls. The US is constantly assessing if it's doing enough to ensure that China cannot use American chip and AI technologies for its military, end quote. Raimondo is leading a trade delegation to the Philippines and Thailand. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Tuesday, and I will see you all tomorrow.